What's up, y'all? You are listening to For the Artists, a podcast brought to you by Creative M Projects. I'm your host, Melissa Cherie.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Seats.
Yes, we got another hot feature in the house. And you know what? If you're watching us, we just connected here. We got the hats popping. We got the lime green popping. Okay, we is in alignment and we didn't even plan that. Boom. What you gonna say, Seats?
We never do.
We never do. It's like we're executive producing like in the elements, in the air, and don't even realize it. But okay, enough about that. I gotta tell y'all about our feature. We're bringing on another person. There's something in the water because we seem to keep bringing people on from the LA County High School from the Arts, where we have a connection. They're gonna have to put us on a payroll in a minute. But Courtney Miller, y'all. Courtney Miller. He was born in Compton. And he is an alumni of LACSA. In May of 2021, Courtney wrapped as season 2 director. That's right, y'all. I said director for the series Games People Play. I feel like we got to say it like that. Games People Play on BET, along with the film Twisted House Sitter from MarVista Entertainment. He also directed all 8 episodes of season 5, Saints and Sinners, the made-for-television movie Saints for Sinners Judgment Day. And he recently wrapped directing 8 episodes. That's your number of the upcoming Bible-based series Covenant. But you know what? That's deep because the number 8 actually refers to the supernatural. We're not getting into that. Okay, series Covenant for the AllBlk network and has several movies and television series in various stages of development. Now, that's just the stuff that we're shouting out now because you know what? This boy is fire and was fire as a dancer on them 10 toes. Okay, can we talk about it? Courtney, say what's up.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? So happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you here.
I feel like there was so much left off that resume, though.
That's what I'm saying. He only highlighted that's like the highlights from this year.
We are not gonna play this dude down. Let's start back. Let's go. Why did we skip Michael Jackson and things like that? I mean, that's not little.
Yeah, you know what, Courtney? Why did your team skip Michael Jackson? Because that's what was sent to us. So fill in the gaps. What happened?
So here's the funny thing. It's like I made this transition from being a dancer to a choreographer, and then I'm now writing and directing. And so as a writer and director, none of the stuff that I've done in the past applies or helps me at all in this new line of work. So the stuff I did with Michael Jackson, the stuff I did with Usher, Britney Spears, Destiny's Child, none of that helps me as a writer and director in this world. It's a whole different world. So I don't even add it to the resume. They find out through talking with me, but I don't add it to the resume or the bio.
It's like you recreate. It's like he recreated himself. See, you just recreated yourself.
You know, well, that's what we know how to do. We know how to reinvent. We know how to get in mode of call today and now. But what we won't do on this show. Let me explain something to y'all.
Explain it. You don't got to explain it to me. I know.
No. I'm talking about the audience.
Okay.
Let me explain something to this audience. First of all, he's a friend of ours.
Yes.
For 30 plus years.
Yeah.
First and foremost. And he happens to have all these different accolades, but I'm not surprised because while we were all attending the Los Angeles County High School for the Performing Arts, he was coming down the hallway and we were like, hey, was that you in the Michael Jackson Remember the Time video? And all that, like you were a big deal in school. So we can't skate over that for the listeners because this young man right here has been diligent in many rights. We graduated from a school where he was actually entertaining the art of dance and has become Mr. Cinema. Mm-hmm. And I'm so very proud of him, and I'm dope. And it's dope to be able to say this again too, Melissa, that he hired me for a project.
What?
To produce, to score music on the Christmas film.
Yep. A Stone Cold Christmas.
What was it called?
A Stone Cold Christmas.
Stone Cold Christmas, which was awesome. And that was my first introduction into, you gave me my first opportunity. I don't know if you know this or not,
I didn't.
Because I want to get into that world. And you indirectly Well, no, not indirectly. You helped me get into that. You allowed me to score my first,
That's dope.
display my music in a film. And we grew up, we went to the same school, man, but you always have been such a diligent cat. What in the heck keeps you going like you do, Cat?
Honestly, man, a big piece of it is fear. It's like a big piece of what I do is fear. Honestly, like, as a kid, I had a dream of dancing for Michael Jackson. And that piece, I would say early, like the dance piece wasn't based upon fear. That one was not based upon fear. The stuff I'm doing now is based upon fear because, as a dancer, you can only dance for so long, right? And so what are you going to do next? What's the next thing? I have so many friends that no longer dance, man. I have a cat, amazing brother, amazing dancer. He teaches all around the world right now. But one day he called me up about 4 or 5 years ago, and he called me up and he was crying, man. He was like, yo, like, how did you do it? How did you transition from being a dancer into a new career? Because he's like, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do now. And he was crying because he had a wife, he has 2 kids, and he didn't know what he was going to do to make ends meet. Because he's like, I can't dance anymore, So like he's teaching dance classes. He does that to pay the bills, but that's not where his heart is. And so we recently reconnected during the pandemic. I just wanted to check up on him, see how he was doing. And he's falling into DJing. And I'm like, dude, you're like the perfect guy to DJ because he dances to house music. Like he's a house dancer. So he's always on the cutting edge of music. I'm like, it's the perfect venue. Plus you can do that forever.
Courtney, let me ask you this. As an artist and as a creator and as a director, and once again, I commend you on all your accolades, man.
Thanks,
I'm so proud of you, man. I'm proud to know you.
Oh man, thank you so much. Same here, brother.
It's so funny. Isn't it just about you as do you feel like you can do whatever you feel like doing, whatever you feel like applying the energy to that it'll get done?
Yeah, and that's really powerful.
Let me ask you this. Where did the inspiration, were you always, when we were in school, were you always into directing and having these visuals of scenes? Or did it come along with you just being a part of those different sets and seeing the directors direct those dope videos that you happen to be in, which were big deals? Were you just indirectly watching that and just and applied it, the experience? Yes,
100%. So it started off like that. Like I had no idea of becoming a writer or director. But like you said, like you watch, you work with John Singleton on, Remember the Time, and it's like, okay, he like, that was dope. And he's from the hood. He's from like, where I come from. Okay, he did it. I could possibly do it, but I never thought about really doing it. And then what happened is that later on down the line, as you stated, as you work with more and more directors, you're like, as a choreographer, you are a director. Like it really does mesh together because you're thinking about, okay, not only am I thinking about the dance steps, but how, where should the camera be when we look to the right or when we look to the left, or you're thinking about that already, just organically,
We wear so many hats called creatives. And I really feel like, especially when you're in tune with the process of it all, I believe we could all, that's why I have to stop limiting myself.
Oh,
because
dude,
even as a drummer, how you speaking as a dancer, as a drummer, I've had to watch the dancers because syncopation is key in showmanship. We all are on, like there's a lock, and same with the cameras. And so for us to transfer our initial artistry, you as a dancer, choreographer, watching the process and saying, yeah, this makes perfect, because I've always had a problem with watching films or music videos. I'll single out music videos, and I would always, I'm so passionate as a drummer, I couldn't help but watch the drummers. Back in the day, they showed drummers in videos.
Yep.
And I'm like, he's not playing that part of the drum right now. So I've become an editor indirectly because I got so fed up with them showing the drummer playing the ride cymbal when it was hi-hat listening. I'm like, who's editing this? And I'm like, whoever's editing this doesn't play or doesn't have any kind of. So it's dope to see you, coordinate and to and not only to see you develop, man, as a man, a father,
grandfather,
consistently a great guy. You know, half of this battle, Courtney and Melissa, I believe, is energies. And Courtney has always been, you never had a problem with having friends in school. You know, like you were, I don't know if you were trying to be popular or not, but you just were, everybody knew you. But you didn't come off like that either. And that's the beautiful thing about us, y'all. And he's here right now and he's still that guy.
He's still that
just
guy.
way more accomplished. And so, like I was telling MS, and we just got off an interview with Nisi. You know,
wow.
You know, it's just, this feels so good, y'all.
That's dope.
This
Although
is so
she's gonna air after you though, so people be
okay.
like, "What?"
Okay, well, my bad.
You can edit this part out then.
No, we just keep it real. It's fine.
Okay. Cool.
Hey,
yeah, man. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Melissa.
No, but I was going to just say real quick in terms of what you guys just talked about being able to wear the different hats and being able to transition so easily because you were already kind of fulfilling those roles. I'm going to say this. Not everybody has that skill. That's a skill. That I feel like that's the separator between the good and the great. Because somebody that's just kind of good or okie doke, you know, not to be offensive or anything. I mean, they're not going to pay attention to all that. They're not going to be as observant, right? Mm-hmm. But because you guys were that, you know, it was easy for you. Not necessarily easy, but I mean, it made sense, right? In terms of you being able to do.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I think all creatives have it within them to do different areas of creativity, right? I will never be a singer, right? But there's other things that I can do that are creative. So for example, Eric mentioned, you know, he's watching the drum beat in music videos. Like a lot of, like, I can see Eric being an amazing editor, like because editing is music. There's musicality to editing and there's pacing, and that he has that organically. It transfers into other areas. You don't think it does, but then it does. And just like choreography translates into directing. And so like Kenny Ortega, an amazing choreographer who did This Is It. But this, I mean, his big breakout was The Lift from Dirty Dancing. Like he choreographed that. So now he's a big time director for Disney. Adam Shankman, another guy, big time director who was a former choreographer. So there's a lot of choreographers who've now transitioned into directing because there is this, first of all, you're next to the director all the time. You're talking to them about shots. Like whenever I choreograph, I don't just make up steps. I come up with a theme, an idea, and then I'll go out and I'll have dancers and I will literally shoot it. I'll film it. And I'll say, okay, this is where the camera should do. This is where the camera should go. All that kind of stuff. So I'm actually directing, and then I give this to the director, and then it's up for them to say, yes, I like this idea, or no, I don't like the idea, but I give them an idea of what, the reason why I made these steps was to be shot and looked at this way. So typically during dance sections, those like for movies or TV shows, I've usually directed those indirectly and given that to the director.
Your testimony just now is a direct reflection of what I've always say. It really is about relationships, and they trusted your approach. And they trusted your professionalism, and they lended an ear, and they developed a confidence in you because you were developing yourself, and they need that. I love to call it collaborating. Yeah, because myself as a drummer and a producer, I have to meet artists halfway and where they are, and then apply what I applied and let them apply what they apply. And I like to make people feel happy. But a lot of this has to come from your spirit. Yeah. Your spirit, I can't imagine you being hard to work with ever. You never been that guy, but that's half the battle in this life. It is, especially in a field of art. Right. You don't want to be an a-hole. You know, that's the last thing you want to be, because we already, you know. Yeah. So do you think your personality and your professionalism has a lot? I know it has a lot to do with your success, but for the listeners that may not know, that may be aspiring to do whatever you have done in the past and, present, future.
Yeah, 100%. I think I mean, you may get the job based upon your talent, but you'll keep the job, or there'll be repeat business based upon that attitude and what you bring to the table and how you treat people and deal with people. You know, it always comes down to that, because this business, there's not a lot of jobs out there, you know? And so it's all about relationships and who you know. They'll bring you on to a gig because of the fact that they worked with you before, and they like the way you work, they like your work ethic, they know that you're agreeable, you're not gonna be an a-hole. Like the days of like yelling on set at people, like that's in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Like, Michael Bay, all that kind of stuff, like that stuff is out of here. Like he doesn't do as many films anymore because of the fact that he's bigger than life now. But the way he started off, or at his height, when he's yelling at people, like you can't do that anymore. Like those days are gone. So those people who can get along with people and still, and not even that, but like inspire people. Like when you get on set, I make it a point, when I get on set, I make it a point to know everybody's name, to try to learn their name as fast as possible. I don't care if you're a production assistant or an executive producer. I want to know every single person's name every single day. I'll dab or whatever we're allowed to do because of COVID. I'll give some type of greeting. I always wear my hat so that way they remember who I am. Like this is all marketing. Like this is a marketing thing on set now, right? But I always give love to people because there'll be times when things are going to be rough. Like you're going into the 14th hour, 2 hours into overtime, and you need people to kind of give you a better performance, or you need people to work faster and safe. They'll run through a wall for you if you treated them well up to that point. And then when it comes time to cash that check, because you've been making deposit after deposit of goodwill to people, then they're ready to go ahead and jump through a wall for you, and they'll do it for you. And then literally people pull me to the side and say, hey, look, I'm tired right now, I want to go home, but I'll do this for you. And then they'll go back to the set and they'll give me a nice performance.
It's not the product, it's the person. People, when we gain trust and when we earn the trust.
Yeah.
People go above and beyond the call of duty a lot of times. And you, just like you said, it's all about making people feel good. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm learning. That's why I'm going to be successful, because I have no problem with complimenting you. Yep. and helping you through this and remembering who I once was, or whatever it takes to make you be that humanitarian in you. Yeah. It's just that we happen to be artists. But what's so funny is that's the gift that'll allow us to sell whatever the product happens to be.
100%. And you're not just giving compliments to give compliments, but you actually really mean it. Like when a person does a great job, tell them. Like a lot of times you'd be surprised how many times people don't hear great job when they do a good job. And like something like that can make somebody's day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, like earlier, Melissa, we were talking about, people have to have the skill set or whatever. And I said, I disagree. Like Melissa, to me, has always been a storyteller. So like, I see Melissa being able to write a script. Like I see her being a writer. If she hasn't written one already, she probably has. And hasn't said anything.
Have you?
Well, I'm in process.
Okay, there you go. So I see that.
Hey, now that we all are anticipating it, you better get it done.
Yeah, because you know what? Everybody starts, but not everybody finishes, right?
Right.
So I have a big saying. It's not how many ideas you have, it's how many you make happen. We all got ideas, but I got so many friends that are aspiring writers. Like you've been working on the script for 3 years. Like it's not finished yet. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but get it done. Because every time you write a script, the first draft is always a piece of crap, always. Mm-hmm. It's never perfect. But then you go back, you're like, okay, this is crap. You go and you go cry, you go drink, you come back, and then you begin to polish it. You keep polishing it. And sometimes that could take a couple of years, but then at a certain point, like Jordan Peele's script, Get Out. Like, the story about that, right? Like he sat on that script for years. He wrote it and sat on it for years because he felt like it wasn't ready. It wasn't right. It wasn't the right time. He kept going back and polishing it. And then he finally let it out. That's just the way it works.
What I would like to encourage our every artist that happens to be listening, be brave in your endeavors. When you know what you know, whatever's in your heart. I don't take surveys when I produce whatever I'm producing. I don't ask people what do they think about it, because I don't want to hear the wrong thing that may deter me from ever entertaining it again. And a lot of people have stopped contributing to their gift because they asked the wrong person a question, or they overheard the wrong opinion. And I'm like, I don't take surveys because I know what my purpose is, and I'm a part of this equation. And so I walk into it wholeheartedly, fearful or not. I'm fearful too, but one thing that I don't want is the sympathy vote, that sympathy clap. And I want, after a while, you're just gonna have to deal with me on a real level, because the energy that I'm going to put into this, it has no choice but to succeed.
Yeah.
But you have to force that on people. I was a reserved guy. You're not really boisterous and boasting and things like that. Nor is Melissa. But there's a certain amount of knowing what we are and whom's we are with that responsibility, and say, I'm gonna get this done for everybody, whether they realize what it's going to be for or not. And don't they always show up late? Don't they always start congratulating you after you got it? They only can they can only congratulate you after it's done.
Yeah.
See, I love something you just said.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Melissa.
No, go ahead.
No,
well,
please.
I was gonna say, see, something you just said. There's the realization that it's not for you. It's outside of yourself. In terms of getting things done. But I wanted to ask you, Courtney, because there's a difference between the person that gets stuck sitting on a script and the person that just gets it done. And you said earlier when we first started that fear is one of your motivations. And when you said that, I could see in my mind, like, if something scary is coming at somebody, right? Bear, lion, whatever it is. It's like there's two types of people, right? There's the one that freezes and there's the one that moves. And it's like, how did you get to the place? Like, what do you attribute to the fact that fear, you're one of those that you're going to move. You're not just going to be frozen by your fear, but you're going to be moved by it. How did you get to that place?
So here's the thing. All throughout the time period when I was doing choreography and dancing, I always had a regular 9 to 5. So I had one foot in the corporate America world, because I had a wife, 2 kids, I needed a steady income. And then I had this other foot that was in the entertainment world, right? Mm-hmm. And then what ends up happening is my kids, now they're grown adults. And so what happened is that I decided to quit my day job. I had a really good job working for the city of San Juan Capistrano in Orange County. I was working for the city, and I said, you know what? My kids are grown. Had I never had kids, had I never gotten married, what would I be doing right now? I said, I would be directing. Okay, well then if I'm going to direct, I need to do it now. So I quit my job. Mm-hmm. So the fear is fear of eating. Like, I have no other recourse. When I had my foot in the corporate world, I really wasn't going at things 100%. Mm-hmm. But now I had some money saved up. So I went back to school. I went to school for about 1.5 years and did nothing but learn how to write, how to direct, how to edit, how to do sound, how to work, as a grip, as a producer for 1.5 years. That's all I did. And then, so I graduated school in 2016. While I was there, I made a short film, a hip hop musical, which got me my managers or whatever. But literally after that first year was tough. Like my car was repossessed because I wasn't making enough money. I mean, I was struggling. Mm-hmm. So 2017 was a really tough year. I did a lot of odd and end jobs, like in production. And again, that's that fear again. But then 2018 came and I got my first break, which was that the project that Eric worked on me with, which was that movie
Stone Cold Christmas
on TV, the Christmas movie. So that's my very first time, but it wasn't a lot of money. It was like only $20,000. Mm-hmm. And I was splitting it with another, because I did a co-writing job. So I got 10 G's on that. Mm-hmm. And then I got another like 15,000 because I was the director as well. So I co-wrote it and I was the director. So I made about $25,000. I had to live on that for a year, 25 grand. And again, my biggest fear is the job I'm working on now will be my last job. That's why I get back to writing every single time. So I'm done with the job that I just finished, 8 episodes or whatever. But I'm like, okay, that may be my last job. So let me write something. Because usually if I'm going to direct something, it comes from the fact that I wrote something and I sell that. And like, okay, if you want this, I'm going to have to direct this. And that's typically the way it works. And that's how it's been working. So I would say, I've directed several projects, but most of the projects that I've directed, most of them, or at least half of them, I've written. I've co-written or written by myself. So that's how it works now. So I work and write out of fear because I don't want to have this be my last job.
Yes, you better negotiate. Boom. You want this?
It
I'm the
always works like
director.
that. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes they're like, you know what? No. Do you want us to sell this or not? Yes, please. I'll take that money. Yeah.
But still, ask for what you want. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's a power in that.
Yeah.
All they can do is turn you down or say no. But if you don't ask, you won't know.
100%. 100%.
I completely concur. And what he said, I could definitely relate to, because in music, it's the same thing. Or whatever we're applying this energy to, you're only as good as your last endeavor. You know, it seems like. The one thing that I don't know if you can relate, but I'm not in competition with anyone. I feel like I love the independent part of what's going on right now in our world, because it allows me to express myself without the surveys taken, you know, the opinions. Yeah. Because I don't miss A&Rs and things like that. And I'm like always looking at them like, you just whatever, you know. Yeah. I don't like being graded on what's in my heart. And I release it. I didn't ask you what you think about what's in my heart. That's not to be judged. And I feel like the world needs to hear what you have to say, your energy, whether it's a book, whether it's a recipe, whether it's a procedure, whether a legal gesture. What we need to always remember that we're all important, and whatever we develop to be, that's a very necessary thing, and it's just for society. So I commend you, brother, for always being excellent consistently. I remember when you invited me to your barbecue at your house, and I came through.
You always remember in a house story, Seats.
At least I'm invited to the crib, though. You know
what? I didn't get an invite. We're not going to even go there. Now I'm feeling sad.
Why are you doing this to me?
I'm just kidding.
And I can't wait to work with you again.
Yes, definitely will make that happen.
You already know I'm here, and I'm available for anybody that I know and love and genuinely care about. That's prioritizing for me.
My biggest dream. So speaking about like going kind of piggybacking on what you're saying regarding projects that you work on and not worrying about or getting getting an audit from somebody else. Like in the world of writing, you typically do pass it through a gatekeeper. Usually my first gatekeeper is going to be my managers. They'll read it, they'll give me their notes back, and then I'll make adjustments, what have you. There's been times, however, when like right now, I'm actually working on writing a series based upon our lives at Laksha. So I'm doing a series based upon our lives at Laksha, right? Nice. It's loosely based upon the real people going through real situations. Some people have been combined, all that kind of stuff. So that's like, and it's going to be a musical as well, but it'll be a very grounded, but it's going to be a TV series. So I'm working on that right now. Now, that's what my managers want me to finish. However, there's other projects that I want to finish as well, right? And so never ask for permission to write the projects that you love or to make the music that you want to make. But in my case, I do have, there's a process that I still do need to kind of like, okay, because in their case, they do have connections with people that I haven't yet connected with. Now, some people I do have my own connections as well. But I think when we work together, it's going to allow this project to come out there to the world. So, that's kind of working on right now. That's one of the projects I'm working on right now. And again, it's fun because I got a chance to interview a lot of people from Laksha to kind of like learn some of their stories. And the crazy thing about it is that we all came from different backgrounds as far as different parts of the city, San Bernardino County.
Other countries even. Huh? We had students from other countries there.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that we were all the same.
Yeah, of course.
We were all going through the exact same things. Some people came from rich families that lived in the Hollywood Hills. Some came from Leimert Park. Some came from Compton. Some came from Inglewood or Carson, Torrance. But we all were going through the same stuff because we're all still teenagers in the 90s, with the same issues that every single teenager goes through. And that's the beautiful thing that I found out talking to different people, So that's, I think, one of the themes of the story is the fact that we all look like we came from different areas, and we did, all different skin colors, all different skill sets. Some were singers, some played drums, others, dance. but we all were going through the same thing and then living life, you know, going through that school.
Purpose-driven lives.
Yeah.
I love that you just made that realization, only because recently, I mean, just with everything going on in terms of race relations and, you know, I was thinking the other day heavily about that, because I was like, you know what, as different cultures, yes, we do have unique experiences, right, that are unique to the culture.
Sure.
I was like, but however, we still have the same human experience. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all still feel the same. The heartbreak still feels the same regardless of what culture you're in, regardless of your color. So I love that you just brought that out. And this is actually a great transition, because I wanted to ask you, you know, growing up in Compton, right? It's like now Compton is like trendy. You know what I mean? Like hipsters and everybody, they're throwing Compton on their sweatshirts. They may have never even been there. But back in the day, there was a stigma associated with certain parts of the city, Compton being one of them. So my question for you is, in terms of, you know, your journey and your artistry and your craft, how did being from Compton affect you in any way, be it positive or negative?
Yeah. So here's a great thing about that. My mother was wise enough to know that, okay, hey, things are going off right now. And so it was through her that she saved us from having a lot of heartache and issues that were going on there. So we moved from Compton to Gardena, but that was like when I was like in junior high. So I lived in Compton for a good chunk of my life. And I saw a lot of things, had a lot of friends that lived in the hood that are no longer with us. Some folks that are still with us, but they're still, you know, still trying to hold on to the past and whatever. So I would say it was always but it was always a good backdrop to remind me of what I did not want in life. It was a good way to kind of put the fire under my feet that I need to work harder to get out of what I'm seeing here. My boys, you know, or my girl, you know, friends that are girls who are going through issues, you know, getting pregnant and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I didn't want that in my life. So I knew that right away. And so my mother always got myself and our twin sisters into the arts. And so from an early age, so I went to, even though I lived in Compton, I went to school in San Pedro, and then in elementary school. And then in junior high, I went to school in Hollywood. These are all performing arts high schools, or performing arts schools. So I was an actor for a while. And I was an actor first. And then I fell in love with dance.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
So I didn't either.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened there. My mother always sent me to schools far away from that area there. And I would come home on the weekends, I'm playing tackle football, on cement with the boys. but on the weekdays, I'm out because she didn't want me around that mess. So it was a good thing that she did that. But like I said, it was always a good reminder to see what was going on, to know that I did not want this, you know, when I became an adult.
I did not realize how much we have in common, because that's such a familiar story, as far as, you know, your mom keeping you active. And that's important, parents, keeping your children active and distracted from silly stuff. And so, you know, that because music saved my life. I knew that as a young man, I would be good at whatever I felt like entertaining. That could have been a negative thing. Thank God that, especially going to Loxa, because I was first going to Washington. I would have turned out another Eric Seeks going to continuing to go to Washington Preparatory High. And I remember, you know, a couple of times, Courtney, after certain events from high school, we used to carpool with Shakira.
Yep.
Because you both were in dance and we were doing the same concert or something. She had to drop you off. And so, yeah, I know we have the same story growing up in that hood. And I had to catch 3 city buses just to get to Loxa.
Yes.
By the time I got home, it was dark.
Yep.
We have that same
cool.
story. But you know what? I have not one regret, and I really feel like it has a lot to do with whatever I think I'm proud about right now.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, and it wasn't even a thing. Like, we didn't think about the fact we had 3 different buses. You know, the bus from where we are, at least, you know, for me, the Gardena bus, you know, taking me downtown LA. I get on the bus over there to the 10 freeway. You get off on the, you know, off the bus there, get on that elevator or take the stairs, go up and cross that bridge every single day.
Across the 10 freeway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. Now, thank God Shakira had a car You know,
Me too. She saved me some from a bunch of fights, I believe, by car. Because you didn't, I mean, you were going, like he said, you just crossing all through many different hoods.
Yeah.
I
At
think
that
I took
time-
the bus with you one time, and I was
With me?
grateful I was more grateful for my hour-and-a-half carpool ride from the South Bay to Cal State LA. I was like, oh Lord, I made it.
No joke.
Yeah, but
No
there are a couple of
joke.
times when I walked home and I'm passing gangsters and like, you know, what's up? You know, like, what's up? I'm like, what's up? You know, and then they're like, you know, what's that you from? Like, dude, I'm a dancer. Like, dancer like literally saved my life. I'm like, this backpack in here, I have tights, man.
My backpack had drumsticks sticking out, and that had a lot to
That helped you.
do. I didn't get sweated a lot after a while.
Yeah.
Because you know, I guess a lot of that has to do with the way you carry yourself too.
It is.
That's true.
It is 100%. They know.
They didn't. I was not trying to look like a threat to you, and after a while, people just started dapping me up and didn't even know my name.
Exactly right. Yeah. Like, after a while, they're like, okay, that's the dancer. Like that's what they called me.
Oh, dude, that's the drummer dude.
Yeah.
Or the skater dude.
Skater dude.
Yeah.
Court, you gotta tell us though. You gotta tell us how you fell in love with dance.
Truth be told, I got it to dance. I was dancing around at the house because I loved Michael Jackson, right? Michael was everything back then. So you have Beat It and you have Thriller and you have all that stuff. And so as a young kid, I was doing it around the house. I was dancing. I was like, you know, MTV was everything. That's when they actually played music videos on MTV. So I'd get my VCR and I would just record and whatever, and like record like, you know, for several hours until the tape ran out. And then I'd go back and watch whatever I had caught, because sometimes I couldn't stay and watch the whole time. I record and go outside and go play. Come back, watch what was on MTV, and like, yeah, Michael Jackson and Madonna and, you know, other people on there. I'm like, oh my God, I love the way he's dancing. And of course, you know, the Motown 25, when he busted the moonwalk for the first time. And I was like, oh, that's dope. So it was between Michael and MC Hammer. Like those are my first two people that got me started in dancing. And honestly, it's like really because of them. And then when I was a young kid, I have twin sisters. And so I learned Thriller by watching the video that I recorded. So I was Michael Jackson and my sisters were the zombies. And we learned the dance steps and we would do them and stuff like that, right? But the funny thing about it is that when you're watching TV and you're learning the steps, if you're copying the steps that are on TV, you're actually learning them backwards. So I knew all of Thriller, but literally on the opposite side. Because when you think about it, you're right. When you're facing this way is now, so I'm learning it backwards. So then it took me a while to figure that out. So then at some point, I turned the TV around to face the mirror, and then I look in the mirror to learn it on the correct side. It's just like little crazy things like that, little funny stories. Myself and my sisters dancing. And so I fell in love because of Michael back in the day. And then I went to the junior high school, Bancroft, and I got into dance at that point. You know Bancroft Junior High?
Yeah, I know.
In Hollywood?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then you later worked with Michael. I mean, it's almost like you mirroring him and watching him and learning all those steps without even knowing it. It was like it was preparing you for that opportunity.
That was class. That was all about class at that point.
Wow.
And then going back, and again, I'm really, so I before I became a dancer, I used to play sports. I was into baseball and basketball. I knew I was never going to be tall enough to play basketball, but that was my sport. Like I played for several years in that. And then, so I have a competitive spirit in me already. And so after my mother saw me dancing with my sister, she said, yeah, we're going to get you guys an agent. So we actually my mother called an agency, found out that they were having auditions, but the only issue was that the auditions were not going to be for kids. And I was like 15 at the time, 14. It was only going to be with adults. So we actually auditioned with the adults and we got in. And so from there, I was like, okay, I'm looking at Michael Jackson, I'm looking at Paula Abdul, I'm looking at Madonna, I'm looking at Janet Jackson. Those dancers are technically trained, like they know how to do ballet. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to learn ballet. Even though I hate ballet, I didn't want to do it. I know if I'm gonna get up there, I'm gonna have to learn that. So I asked my mother to find me a class. And so we started going to take classes, my sisters and I. But when we jump in with both feet. So I had classes every weekend. I would learn everything from ballet to African to modern to jazz, everything. And I just absorbed it. And I would practice it at home. And I would like walk on my tippy toes around the house to get stronger so I can like have stronger ankles. And like when I jump into something, I go full out. And again, that's a competitive spirit in me. And that's kind of like what ended up happening. It started growing from there.
Y'all, I got a controversial, it might be a controversial question or not.
Okay. Get it.
Okay, because you talked about how going all in, you knew you needed to learn ballet, wanted to learn ballet. Now that was what, back in what year was that? 80s, 90s, 70s?
Yeah, so I'm like 14. So we graduated at 18, so that's 4 years, so 88.
88. Okay. So we fast forward. This is now 2021. It's like the fabric of our culture and society has changed so much.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my question is, but I guess I'm just trying to ask, if you were, you know, if that was you now, like, Ma, I want to learn how to play ballet. It's like, what are the odds of that really happening without any sort of backlash or judgment? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that like, or was that like, or can you even speak to that, being a male
in Compton,
came through, you know, dancing?
Right.
Yeah.
In Compton.
No,
in
my
Compton.
mom actually was, no, she supported me 100%. Like there was no issues because she knew that it was a means to an end. Like she knew I didn't want to be a ballet, you know, I don't want to be a ballet dancer, but she knew that I wanted to dance with Michael Jackson. And, you know, when you look at Michael's stuff, he has clean lines, you know, it's very exacting. And I can only get that through really disciplined dancing, and ballet was going to be that, be that format for that.
The word that comes to mind is diversity.
Yeah. Yes.
As a drummer, I knew I had a quick wake up call. You cannot just play jazz. You cannot just play gospel. You have to get in this symphony so you could be at the LA Philharmonic playing.
Nice.
And luckily, I was hired in high school to play with the LA Philharmonic because of that diversity. Timpani is offside because that will determine your tax bracket. Yeah. What you either get certain calls or you can get all calls. The beautiful thing that diversified my life was LACHSA, and it allowed me to have a bigger scope of outside of what I think is hot, and outside be able to receive the call. That's called well-rounded. Yeah. And so we've had to, that's why I've learned not to have favorites, and I had to stop listening to a certain guy all the time. I had to start accepting everything else that came with it. And I'm like, you know what? Because there's no money in jazz. Let's keep it honest. Yeah. I cannot be swinging for the rest of my life. That's just not going to pay the bills. And so you have to be diversified because, you know, playing with the LA that's a different tax bracket.
You know, so funny, you should say that, because about being, having diversity in literally that's what LACHSA brought to me. Like, so first, this is my mentality, and forgive me, this is again, back in the day, this is the way I was like, I'm not going to wear tights. Tights are for sissies. Like that was my thinking at the time. I will never wear tights. I'll do this ballet thing, but I'll never wear tights. And so I go to the audition, and who's freaking in tights killing it? Matthew Rushing. So Matthew's there, and who dances now with you know, he actually dances. He's one of the choreographers for Alvin Ailey. He's there, and his body's like, I'm like, he's moving like, okay, maybe I could do this, because the way he moved was just so cold. It was just so beautiful. Yeah. I'm like, man, okay, all right. So that changed my mind right away. So being around LACHSA did introduce me to ballet, and I actually did some work with the Joffrey. It introduced me to Bella Lewitsky and modern dance, which I thought, you know, was really weird, you know, kind of dancing. Horton, learning different techniques, and all that stuff helped me, because what ended up happening, like you said, is once I started going to auditions as an adult, like, so as a kid, when I got my agent, I would go to auditions for the adults. I told my agent, I said, hey, look, I'm too old to be a kid. I'm too young to be an adult, but still send me to adult auditions, even though I'm only 17, because by the time I'm 18, I would have known and met all these people. And by the time I'm ready to rock and roll. So she did that. And what ended up happening is that at the time, there was very few dancers that could do hip hop and jazz and ballet. And I was one of the few people that can do that. And that's why I worked all the time. Because like, I can go and do something with Michael Jackson, and then I can go ahead and do 5 pirouettes, you know, for Paula Abdul or somebody else. you know? So very few people could do that, you know, can put all different styles together, and Laksha gave me that. So 100% correct on that, Eric.
Yeah.
I just I love that. I feel for some of these young people that are coming up right now, because the lack of freedom to explore and experience that diversity, to me, it's very disheartening. I feel like we're living in a world or society where if you want to experience that sort of diversity or be diversified, there's a pressure for you to change who you are. And
Can you
it's
be more
like,
specific, Melissa? Like, what do you mean by that? Because that's very nebulous.
I just feel like even when it comes to, what we're talking about with ballet, okay, specifically, it's like, so if you're a male that wants to dance ballet, it doesn't mean that you have to be, I don't know how else to say it. It doesn't mean that you have to, that you're a girl or you have to be a girl.
Oh, right,
You know what I mean?
right.
And I feel like we're living in a society where they're putting that on people. And it could be vice versa, a girl doing it. I'm just using that as an example because it's at the forefront of my mind. And it's like, no, you can explore whatever you want to explore and still be true to who you are on the inside without somebody changing you into something else because of their interpretation of you.
Does
that make more sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I would say that the benefit that I had was we had a group of guys who did ballet we called ourselves the Ballet Boys, right? And it was like I had Brian Carter and Matthew and Pablo and other people like that. And so some of them, I would say it was a 50-50 situation in regards to whether, gay, straight. So I'm just gonna go there. But we all respected each other, and we all worked together very well. And there was never a pressure to dance a certain way. If I think you're going where I think you're gonna go, or you're trying to talk about, like, I was able to be me and dance the way I dance, and somebody else danced a different style, but we still did ballet together, and there was never a pressure. It's like I brought something different, a different flavor to it. Plus, I had like a hip hop background, and I'm trying. Of course, you trying to separate the two, but I can't help it; it's in me. But you bring a different flavor to it, and that's great because you don't want everybody to look the same. Sometimes you do want them to look the same, but we're all not trying to be in a chorus. We're trying to be individual dancers, and you're right, it was quite different than it is now. I think that now there may be possibly some pressure to be one way or the other, but you just have to be true to who you are. And
I always
just know that.
Yeah.
I'm glad I grew up when I did.
Yeah, me too.
I always say that. I'm glad we grew up in a time where, and I'm glad I was afforded, and we were afforded the opportunity to be where we were in that time and space, because that allowance and you mentioned Brian Carter and all those were my homies. Yeah. So it didn't matter that y'all were wearing tights in those classes.
Yeah.
We were open. There was one thing about Laksha, the open-mindedness within the students allowed us to be the students that we were being, because if those were at other schools, we would hide that. And so that ability to express that, because like you said, a lot of times dancers get associated, you can't help but to have posture when you're doing certain elements of dance. Ballet makes your posture is going to be straight. So you can't, those are things that's narrow-mindedness, first of all. But it was dope that we were exposed to being around people that allowed us to be comfortable in our rights, in our gifts, in our talents.
Yeah.
In art.
Like it's funny to watch, like think about those days, like dancers many times they would wear like not as much clothing as other people. They would always wear tights underneath their clothes, some sweats. Whenever we sat down in the in our rooms, we'd always like be in a split, working on stuff.
I was about to say, y'all always massaging each other.
Massages.
Be stretching up against the lockers and everything.
Yeah, like actors were always wearing black.
Yeah.
Visual artists always have some type of piercings, tattoos, some kind of green, purple hair.
That's right.
That is so true.
Loxer, baby.
You know, singers were always singing like, you know, they couldn't just say hello. Everything was like, oh, like, okay, you trying to say hello?
I'll be right back.
He's like, restroom break.
You know, it's just so funny. Like, that's the way we were. And we accepted that with everybody. And it was a beautiful thing. You know, it
is a beautiful thing. You know, it's if the world could just be like Loxa, we'd all be good. You know what I'm saying? You know what I remember? And maybe this is in my mind, but I feel like you were always eating donuts. And I was like, this boy's body is bomb. Okay. Yeah. How does he get to eat all these donuts? I want some.
You're about to go work it out. You're about to put in the 3 hours of just like, you know, killing yourself. So it's okay. And of course, you know, we're like 16, 17, 18 years of age. So, you know, it was quite different back then. And I, you know, that's why I'm chunky now, because I still have the same eating habits.
You were not chunky now.
I was 155 at Loxia. I'm like 190, like 197 now. So I'm 40 pounds heavier than what I was at Loxia. I think he's probably the same weight.
He's probably the same. Yeah, Eric, have you gained any weight since high school?
Yeah, I gain and drop though. Yeah, I go through seasons of stuff.
Well, you know, I wish I could. Y'all pass some of that drop part to me, okay? Because
I don't drop. I'm not dropping.
Yeah, I don't seem to be dropping either. I just be like, I'm steady and consistent. Steady and consistent.
Oh man.
Wow. Anyway, I don't even know how we got to that. Dang, you guys, for real, it's almost been an hour that we have been having a conversation.
Like we said, wow. it goes by fast when you're having fun.
Whoa.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we are going to begin to start wrapping it up. But Court, what do you want to share with us in terms of like things to be watching for, how to find you, I mean, you've already dropped a bunch of nuggets of wisdom, knowledge, and information, but
oh boy,
what else you got?
Honestly, the best way to just keep track of what's going on is I'm on Instagram. Director Courtney is what I'm on. And honestly, I'm not the best at posting stuff. Like, I believe in just working, you know, and then every blue moon I'll post something. Oh yeah, I got to put something up, you know, because that's what they want you to do these days.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Director Courtney, of course, anybody has any questions about the writing process or anything about writing or directing, you know, feel free to hit me up, DM me. I check my DMs all the time and answer questions all the time about that process. Cause it's, you know, this is like what, my 5th career change, you know, when you think about it. So it's like,
wow.
Yeah. You know, if you have any questions, like, and I'm still learning. I'm still new, you know, like I said, I started like last year, was it 2020? No, 2019 was the first year that I said to myself, I can actually make enough money to take care of myself doing this job. Was 2019.
Okay.
So I'm still new at this, even though I'm working, you know, a good clip, I'm still relatively new.
Yeah.
I love that never-ending process.
No,
yeah.
Never.
It's a never-ending process, y'all.
And even though it's relatively new, have you even started thinking about what your next career is going to be? Because we know there's probably going to be another one.
Yeah, I know. I want to basically like kind of like J.J. Abrams, where he's like a producer, writer, director. He helps to get things made. That's kind of where I want to go.
Okay.
So that's the next level for me. Is like working consistently, but I want to like be able to like help greenlight some other people's projects, other people's dreams, you know, and help to really fix them and mold them and get them ready to put on TV or to the big screen. That's my ultimate goal.
Please include me in that.
All right, love it. Are you writing stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll talk after this.
Well, listen, we look forward to seeing that because I already know you're going to make that happen. So the next chapter will happen when it's supposed to.
Let's go.
Dang. All right, y'all. It's here. We got to get ready to wrap it up. Seach, you got anything you want to throw in before I do the end closing?
I just love our therapy sessions. This is so uplifting to everybody that's happening to be listening. We appreciate you for listening. And this is what's necessary.
Definitely. And I would just want to say that if anybody has any idea of something, a dream that you want to do, like it's cliche, but I'm proof that you can do it. Again, you know, I was a dancer, became a choreographer, became a writer, became a director. Like you can totally do it. Your only limitation is like your wanting to do it and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud to know you.
That's
Thanks,
dope. I'm
man.
proud.
Same
I'm
here, brother.
honored. I'm like, shoot, that's my friend. That's my friend. Look at all that stuff he done did.
So sick. My God. But my biggest dream is to have a project where actually I can hire a lot of my Locksha friends. That's
Well,
like my
you just
biggest
spoke
dream.
it into existence, soldier. So
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't wait.
So
All right, y'all. Well, as we wrap up, man, I love y'all. Thank you for taking this time to be with us, Courtney. We appreciate you so much. You didn't have to do this, but you
Thanks for
did.
having
So
me.
I thank you for saying
Whatever.
yes. All right. But you guys have been listening to For the Artists, a podcast brought to you by Creative and Projects. I've been your host, featuring Courtney Miller with
Eric Seats, and Creative and Projects is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization. So if you would like to donate to this beautiful cause, please do such a thing at creativeandprojects.org.
Yes. All right, y'all. And until
Word.
next week, keep creating from the inside
out.
out.